So here is the Spell Druid for PNC, who, struggled a little bit to get in the previous series to get a win, as the Druid seemed to be outmatched at the very final few moments of that series. And we'll see if this Druid can pull it back, because, like we were saying, I kind of like the lines that PNC was taking. I just don't think it panned out really well. And overall, I didn't really see any signs that PNC from last week was here. It feels like he's kind of more focused, and he's back trying to see if he can get that spot in Division A. And I think PNC is in a pretty decent spot to do that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Still, you got to win 2 in a row. And I said earlier in the broadcast that I really like his lists. As far as like the most optimized lists for the metagame in general, but how that lines up against what his opponents are going to do, we'll have to see. But we're going to have that mirrored 4 decks, the Paladin, Shaman, Druid, Hunter on both sides, and I can imagine PNC is going to start with Hunter because that's just a free win if you're PNC. Just take your Hunter win, move on.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that's probably in the back of Muzzy's mind. Like, I have to play this series as if I know that Hunter is going to take a game from PNC, or rather that PNC's Hunter will take a game from me, and then go from there. What does Muzzy choose to reply with to this Spell Druid? Might have some bigger implications, but the most important thing is, if Muzzy loses the series, he might not make it to the top 8, despite qualifying twice for it. It will be very close, because if you look at who's currently in the top 8 before this weekend, Bloodyface, Language Hacker, and Gallon are kind of locked. And if Muzzy loses here, I believe he ties Empanizado, while San and Eddie and potentially PNC move ahead of him, which puts him in the danger zone, because Monsanto's through to the top 4. And so is Nalgidan.
Yeah.
So Muzzy is, realistically, if he loses here, actually, I don't think he makes it to the top 8, despite getting top 8 twice in the Swiss. It's because people have advanced farther than him to make top 4 or better.
Yeah, and that's one important thing to point out is that players are tied in points. The tiebreaker to get into Division A is their highest overall finish in any 1 week of Swiss. So even if you're consistently making top 8, if you just finish 7th and 8th, 7th or 8th in that top 8, then someone who has the same amount of points from you but had one like top 2 or top 4 finish, they're going to be over you in the standings. Balmage's a little late here.
Yeah,
just a bit.
Just a little bit late, and so would PNC if he goes for the Crystal Power. Both players playing off curve, which I think favors the Druid, since they don't have to worry too much about having the exact right answer at the right time. He has to go with the Moonfire instead of Crystal Power. Interesting.
He refuses to play off curve, Dan.
Yeah. And I think that is justified, because he can get value off his hero power, and he loses 1 health. And the Crystal Power deals 2 damage, and it might be like more important if Muzzy's playing other things like Taunt that gets in the way of stuff. Or in this case, you can just Crystal Power on turn 3 against the Emerald Drake. Doesn't need to, because he has the Wild Growth, but it's just that PNC kept his options open. This Twilight Drake, though, is going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah, nice little 4/6 there.
And PNC going to go for more card draw with the Fungal Fortunes. Needs to set up a really powerful Kael'thas turn.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think killing this Primordial Explorer with the Crystal Power is something that he's thinking about. I wonder if he wants to also potentially use Bog Beam here. Next turn might be... sorry, not might be. Next turn looks like some kind of Glowfly Swarm setup. So he needs to be careful with how he spends his resources here.
Yeah, there's also the possibility that he waits for turn 7 for Goldfly Swarm to also get down Soul of the Forest.
Well, if he passes here, he's actually going next turn, right? He's going to go for Coin, Kael'thas,
Oh yeah,
Innervate stuff, plus Innervate, Crystal Power, Soul of the Forest. Because he has 4 spell activators, right? The Coin, Innervate, Innervate, and Crystal Power. So those are cheap spells that help make the third spell free.
Oh yeah, he could do it. The only problem is, is it a small Glowfly? Like, how big is the Glowfly Swarm at that point? It's still big, right?
It still looks big enough to me because there's 9 cards in hand. Or, yeah, 9 cards in hand that are spells, and he only uses 2 of them. So
yeah,
it should be a full board entirely. PNC just knows he's going to play Kael'thas here. And this is a really, really big board.
Oh my goodness.
Energy, power.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How's your Waste Warden looking now, Muzz?
So the debate is Soul of the Forest and Crystal Power here, right? Sorry,
Soul of the Forest,
Soul of the Forest
Wild?
and Gift of the Wild. He's going to play Crystal Power for sure.
Yeah.
This makes me think he's going to play Soul of the Forest. Otherwise, wouldn't you be incentivized to Crystal Power the Twilight Drake so it can't trade in easily?
Yeah. I'm actually not sure what's better. Which one's more likely to give you more minions next turn? And I think that is...
Right, because he has Savage Roar in hand.
Yeah.
And he knows about the possibility of Zephyrus going for a Shadow Flame wipe.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true. So Zephyr Shadow Flame was probably what was on his mind. But now, I mean, Muzzy can Waste Warden down these Glowflies, but then he only clears off 3 of them?
If he clears off 3 of them, there's still 10 plus 12 plus 1. So he's still alive if he Waste Wardens and clears off 3 minions.
What is this world, Dan? That was turn 5.
Jeez.
That's a turn 5 play.
Turn 5 play. It's a heck of a play.
What the heck?
I mean, that's kind of why people love playing the Spell Druid, to try to pressure their opponents like this.
Quickly.
Oh,
Wow.
he's calling the bluff, but he's dead.
Yeah, if you got Savage Roar, you got me.
I mean, this is a lethal setup for Muzzy for with Down Tier for Amp plus Hero Power next turn. Saying, hey, if you don't have Savage Roar, I win, but PNC has Savage Roar, and that's game.
And that's going to do it. I mean, I do think that this was the right line here for Muzzy, because he can't win the game if he's just trading down. It's just that PNC had the goods. And PNC going to crush his way to a Game 1 victory. And that leads us to PNC being in a pretty good position as he is trying to readjust the autofocus of the webcam. Been there.
Yeah. I mean, I think no matter which way you slice it there, PNC still wins. Because let's say that Muzzy clears off 3 minions, like Waste Wardens, and then clears off 3 minions. PNC still has 4. So it's 10 power on board. Savage Roar is 10, 20. Gift of the Wild is 10, yeah. So Gift of the Wild is 8. Yeah, he had exact lethal even if Muzzy went with the full clear with the Waste Warden. Because he drew the Moonfire off the top, so it would have been 28 plus 1 for 29.
Yeah, so this brings us to an interesting talking point where I feel like Muzzy has prepared his lineup to beat Druids. And now that Druid's through,
He has all these Waste Wardens in his line against what PNC can do, except maybe for the Murloc Paladin, which it might even be too slow for that matchup. So it's going to be an uphill battle for sure for Muzzy if he wants to take this series.
All right, well, we're going to take a break and find out what ends up happening, so don't go anywhere. Game number 2 between Muzzy and PNC is coming up right after this break.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.
If I had to be handcuffed to another Grandmaster for an entire month,
Maybe I should choose someone I don't like and annoy them.
I'd want it to be someone that doesn't really do a lot, so they wouldn't be like in the way, causing a lot of problems.
Well, the thing is, I already live with Muzzy, so it already kind of feels like we're handcuffed in a way. Things wouldn't be too different, except for bathroom breaks.
It would probably be Pavel. Pavel's pretty skinny, you know, I can move him around and just go wherever I want.
I'd probably choose Bunny Hopper. I've spent the most time with Bunny Hopper recently, and we get along pretty well.
PNC probably. He's my best friend here.
It would probably be Zalea. A large problem would be food, and Zalea knows how to find the cheese. So just being handcuffed to Zalea would allow me probably to have more access to more cheese. Is Zalea obsessed with cheese? Yes. It's a problem.
I think it would have to be Eddie. He's a good guy.
Papa Jason, because he is a vegan, and so whenever we go out and have food, I can have all the meat, and he'll just have all the veggies that I don't like to eat.
I'd pick Papa Jason. He's very positive, and I don't think I'd get annoyed being around him. I think with some of the other GMs, they might start to get to me after a while.
You know, you're not the first person that said that. The other people said because he's a vegan, so.
Oh, because he's vegan? Oh, because I get all the meat? Well, that's a way more clever answer. Use that, just put my voice instead.
Hearthstone Grandmasters continues as we have game number 2 between Muzzy and PNC coming up. A big series, the more I look at the standings, because both of these could have implications on their top 8 performances leading into the divisions stages of Grandmasters coming up next week. So both PNC and Muzzy are in that watch zone. If PNC is able to win here and beat Saiyan, the PNC is guaranteed, I believe, in. to the top 8 for weeks number 4 through 7 for the round robins. So I'm looking at this series very closely, TJ, because this could have cascading effects on who is eliminated and who gets through. So pay attention, because this could be one of the more important series throughout the entire weeks we've had so far.
Yeah. There's some players that are playing this weekend that are already near locked, especially with the top 8 this week. So having 2 players go up against each other that are not only close in the standings, but also on that bubble right now that could knock people out and push themselves in. It's a big deal. A lot of pressure. And now we're going to see a Hunter mirror match with PNC up 1-0. And we saw PNC win the Hunter mirror earlier against Saiyan. And it seems like... Actually, sorry, I had the wrong deck list up. I'll be able to look at Muzzy's in just a moment. I'm sure he has a similar list, but Saiyan did make some conscious decisions to go for like some utility cards like Crazed Alchemist over just like naturally good on curve proactive cards. And I wonder if Muzzy made the same decisions. And it looks like he did. Yeah, Muzzy's also playing the Crazed Alchemist. There's a few differences, though, in their list. Muzzy also has the Bone Chewer Brawler, whereas Saiyan did not have that as a playable, too. So he's got a little bit more consistent of a curve. But everything else is pretty much the same.
Yeah. And hopefully that helps him get off to a better start than he was able to do in the previous game. As I believe PNC needed to have a lot more breathing room, and it seemed like Muzzy wasn't able to give, or Muzzy very easily gave it to him. And once more, Dwarven Sharpshooter seems to just solo all the early game from a lot of aggressive decks here this format.
You don't beat PNC's Highlander Hunter.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I don't know
happen.
what Muzzy was thinking here.
I know, it just doesn't happen. That's just a curve that does not feel good.
Yeah, it's sad days for sure for Muzzy. And PNC can answer in a multitude of ways. Doesn't actually have to hero power down. He can just play Hench Clan Hogsteed. And
you can play any of these twos and it's reasonable. Except maybe Zephyrus. But Zephyrus also could be reasonable because it could just help him find a turn 3 play. If he wants to play heavily for tempo like that, which I don't think so. But even the Bone Chewer Brawler, Muzzy showed that he didn't have a play. Let's say Stormhammer is there, clears that off. PNC still gets to get this Blazing Battle Mage. But the easiest way is just to kill it off with the hero power and take it slightly slower.
yeah, this could be a game that takes a while, and it's pretty back and forth. Muzzy does have the Stormhammer, and, reasonably, if Muzzy still could win this game. If he's able to get off all of these really powerful minions out of his hand, and PNC's just playing like low curve, weak stuff.
Easiest Zephyrus Bloodsoul Corsair in my life.
Those look very good.
Not the easiest, obviously, but
those look good. There's just a lot of options here.
Yeah. That play is still available in future turns if Muzzy even gets additional hits and has a dragon for this.
Right. How can you get punished if you coin out Dragon Beam?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Corrosive Breath.
Yep, Corrosive Breath.
Dwarven Sharpshooter.
Kill Command. Not even really. Kill Command's a big punish that your opponent invests a lot of resources and plays off curve.
Ivan Griffin. Scale Rider. Zixer.
So a lot. A lot of ways.
Yeah. But PNC says, who cares?
Well, the upside of this play is bananas. You just start to climb really far ahead of your opponent.
Yeah.
Muzzy draws the Dwarven Sharpshooter. However, you would have to part ways with the Storm.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part about this play is, sure, there are a number of things that answer this Dragon Bane, but all of those things that answer the Dragon Bane involve Muzzy using up his Stormhammer without playing a dragon. The only one that doesn't is Zephyrus, Shadowward Pain, or Crazed Alchemist Fairy Dragon. Those are the only two that would allow him. And so Muzzy says, all right, I don't want to get rid of this Stormhammer just yet. And also, if you want value from this Dragon Bane, you also have to spend 2 of your mana on your hero power. Which is not negligible. It means he only has 2 mana left to do whatever else he wants. Which means he has a wealth of 2 mana options.
Definitely a tricky spot. Okay, so he's going to react off of this steady shot. Ghost Face, which I think Muzzy's happy with.
Yeah.
And now, what do you do as PNC? You've collected your free 5 damage. I guess you can play the Bone Chewer Bully just to kind of get stuff between the Dragon Bane and your opponent's minions, so you can kind of set up your own taunt. Oh, interesting. Wants to remove Bone Raid. Okay, Muzzy is pretty close to just getting super far ahead. Because he has the power curve.
Yeah.
He has a potential of back-to-back Dragon Queen Alexstrasza's, but there's also a 2-mana dragon fit in here.
Yeah, I think the Fairy Dragon has got to be the option. He does need to find something to fit turn 6. I mean, he has Dwarven Sharpshooter plus hero power, but obviously if he finds something more powerful, he'd go with that. But it is a great pickup, and once he does hit that turn 7, that's when things are going to get interesting. But PNC has to Waste Warden.
Oh,
Say goodbye to your dragons. Muzzy finds a dragon here that's playable.
Okay. Ooh. That's still doable. Except the Dwarven Sharpshooter and the Sixor.
Yep.
Honestly, that's not bad at all. It fills out his curve very nicely and still gets to preserve the weapon.
Yep. Doesn't have to take damage.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest part. Like, Muzzy could be within that area where it starts to become critical amount of life.
Alright, so with Diving Griffin pulled, what does PNC have left as far as beasts go? He has a Hungry Crab,
Zixor?
and Zixer, and Escape Mana Saber. So he's got 3 pulls. Zixer being the only one that really has immediate board impact. If he uses Diving Griffin now, it would pull out the Zixer, which means that his Scavenger's Ingenuity would be limited to just the Mana Saber and the Hungry Crab. Whew.
Yep, just doing it best to clear the board. It's all really Muzzy can do in this situation.
Yep.
Ooh. And now Diner Teamer Brand. We're talking about the ability to get aggressive here. And this is the turning point for Muzzy. PNC has to respond to this King Crush or he's dead.
Well, Scavenger's Ingenuity does now have a chance, a 33.3% chance to pull Zixer. And he pulled the Hungry Crab.
Yep. That's true. The Zixer would have been pretty crazy because then he would have been able to play on turn 8 and then destroy the King Crush.
Yeah.
Voidwalker! The perfect card!
Wait, what?
Job done.
He had 3 mana left.
Right? Like, at least, like, offer, I don't know, Iron for a Grizzly or something? Oh, because it knows that you want a hero power, right, TJ? So you can squeeze it in.
What?
Winds of the south, come to my aid.
Looks like he's going to have to kill off this Hungry Crab. And what a sigh of relief for Muzzy, knowing that Sixor has not been pulled, but still can be nattied. Oh. Well, Swarm of Locusts does clear it off, but Muzzy does get his Dragon Queen off first. That's never a good position to be in the Dragon Queen Wars.
Yeah. Players at 16 too, so it's not like there even needs to be that much power from Dragon Queen Alexstrasza to threaten lethal. And Caligos and Bronze Herald, so that's like relatively low power, but at the same time, Nuclear Slam! He can play it now!
Okay.
He can just play it!
Yeah,
for
what
free.
the heck? Yeah, PNC
insane.
needs Deathwing.
He needs Deathwing, he needs Nazari and Deathwing.
Life and hope.
Yeah, because he's dead to the kill command. No, none of those things.
Oh.
PNC's Hunter is gonna lose this game.
It's mortal after all.
And we were talking about it. If Muzzy could get to his power turns, he would win.
Yeah.
And survive he did, because PNC had, well, he had a lot of tech cards and like cute stuff, but like we're talking about, right? Utility versus power. This is a struggle that I think a lot of decks are kind of balancing right now, going up against all the shamans and paladins.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm still flabbergasted by the Voidwalker, to be honest. That threw me for a loop. I guess it...
Yeah, the
sort of-
Voidwalker was definitely pretty interesting.
I guess if it's going to offer you a minion there, like, Voidwalker is better, because theoretically, based off just the board state, the Voidwalker would block 8 damage. Because Dino Tamer Brand wouldn't be able to kill the Voidwalker by itself. So Zephyr's like, well, if you're not going to Shadow Word Death this thing, you know, at least protect yourself with a Voidwalker. So, still funny to see. Kind of interesting how Zephyrus works sometimes, but alas, enough of that. Series is tied.
Series is tied. And now we go into game number 3. And what will happen? Will PNC queue up this Hunter again? No, looks like he's going to put it on ice for a little bit and see if the Paladin can get taken down by PNC Shaman.
It betrayed him, so...
I know. PNC's never going to... He's like, I'm done with Hunter. Get
Goes
this class.
Back into the Pokeball for a bit.
That's what I do. I, like, start a new deck. Like, board control climbed the top 10 legend with this deck. Let's give it a try. Win 6 games in a row. I'm like, all right. Lose 1 game. Forget this deck. What else is there?
Ooh. So, forgoes the 1-drop to get the more resilient minion down. Definitely does not want to fall behind on tempo. Because the Battle Mage, I suppose, would have died to an Invocation of Frost. There it is.
I think this goes to show you the weakness of tech cards.
Well,
in
Dan.
deck building. I know that most people do understand that when they're like watching a Grandmaster stream for a long time. They kind of get that concept, but for newer players, they might think like, oh, I should just like outfit my deck with things like Hunger Crab, and you're gonna run into situations like this fairly often. You have to understand that this is a calculated risk by the players in a tournament environment. They know that they're likely to draw Hunger Crab in inopportune moments, but the payoff, because they're trying to build strategies that target Murlocs, is much higher. But man, is it funny when you farsight a Hunger Crab. Alright. PNC's ahead on the board now. It's been a hot minute since I've seen, was it Phalanx Commander?
Yeah.
In Standard and not Battlegrounds?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Sometimes
all right, I
forget
guess I'll
those
play
cards
this for
exist.
one battle. Sell it. Tear up. Alright, well, the Bog Spine Knuckles is a good setup for the following turns. And PNC doesn't really have anything else going for him this turn right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, he also still gets 6-drop. Yeah, he also still gets 6-drop from this. Gets to value trade over with the Phalanx Commander and see what's in the 6-drop box. The Sunwalker, okay.
Alright.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, it just so happens to be going up against a token-based board that has Faceless Corruptor as an option this turn.
Yep. So what's the most efficient trade, though? Is it Micro Mummy and then use the token from the Micro Mummy to preserve your taunt?
I would presume so.
Or do you preserve the Micro Mummy?
I think the taunt is more important.
Let me think.
Well, you could do it on the 2-1 also. Like trade
That's
over
true.
the Micro Mummy and then Faceless Corruptor the 2-1 to keep the Micro Mummy. Because at the end of the day, it would be the same power represented on board. He just pushed 2 less damage. And would have less like immediate power the next turn, but it would grow and the Micro Mummy would be preserved. Or just Waste Warden. You know, that's hidden option 4.
Yeah, this is about the same amount of stats on board.
Damn.
Oh,
The best draw in the deck.
Oh wow. PNC can't believe his luck. Shaking the head. PNC. What did he get?
Whoa! The
Deathwing.
That's the PNC. Oops, I drew the best card in my deck. Head shake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll do it.
Well, Muzzy can fight back a little. But right now, resistance is futile.
You get Pharaoh's Blessing and value trade over the Griffin.
Right.
The Hippogriff.
I wonder.
And you're still probably taking 12.
The fires of vengeance burn bright.
I guess this allows him some better value trades.
Yeah, he's gonna hope that he runs a Shaman out of resources, but I don't think that's gonna happen here because PNC has removal and then he has the Galakron that's evoked. This is looking bad. I think Muzzy has to find Zephyrus.
Zephyrus Brawl.
And brawl it away. Otherwise he's dead. And Muzzy finds Siamat's not good enough, I think.
You could actually Siamat Divine Shield taunt. and that protects him from a lot of damage on board, right? Because he'd have to throw the 2/2 in and then Deathwing to swing over it. That's if he has 0 invokes whatsoever, and we can actually see that he just has Galakron. So, I mean, that play would just kill him. But I think that's the best play that Muzzy can make on the board.
There's also another play. He could Wind Fury Rush and kill off the Scargill and the Battle Mage.
Yeah, but then he's at 2.
Well, it's like you said. If he has an invoke, it's the same thing.
But he dies. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. This is a guaranteed. I have 1 turn to survive unless you draw box fight.
And PNC just thinking about all of his outs or draws for lethal right now. It's not even really an out. He's in an overwhelmingly dominant position right now. That's a really good spot by Muzzy, by the way. This play, the Siamat. I think most people would taunt and Divine Shield in that spot. Kind of recognizing that it would be the same function, but perhaps even worse if his opponent was able to invoke.
I hope you like my invention.
He's going for it.
I will act as your scapegoat.
All right, and now with this bigger board, there's a very high likelihood that even if Muzzy finds Zephyrus, he wouldn't be able to survive. That Libram of Justice isn't enough. And Muzzy looks like he is dead.
Yep.
He does have the ability to play Sir Finley and look for the Warlock hero power, but even with that draw, I don't think it does anything. PNC 1 game away from advancing to play Just Saying. After that credible series of Shaman Evolves.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That Mogu Flesh Shaper was the difference maker, honestly, because I think the board gets picked apart pretty well if that's not played, because he just goes Desert Hare Totem, and then the Faces Corruptor would have been nearly a full clear on the board. So Mogu Flesh Shaper coming in big and getting the Deathwing too. I mean, a lot of things would have put a similar clock on it. A lot of the 10 drops, because Muzzy just didn't find a way to deal with the 10 drop in general. Sure, yeah, Libra of Justice. He could have taken a bunch of damage in order to clear something if he had taken less, but... And that's the only copy of Flesh Shaper that PNC has in his deck.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it right now, and I mean, kind of an amazing series of events if you really think about it, to bring back the Desert Hare Evolve and just like win with the Deathwing. People were like even theory crafting that in the first place. They're like, oh, you're like making Mogu Flesh Shaper more expensive. Aren't you like buffing it because you're giving it like a better evolve mana cost? I mean, I think those people were being obtuse. Some people were being serious, but for the most part, Mogu Flesh Shaper seems a lot weaker. But if you can get it to evolve and stick things like Deathwing onto the board, you are in. I mean, you're cooking at that point.
Oh yeah. Turn 1 play for Muzz.
And this is Dwarven Sharpshooter on 1.
Every game. Ah, the air raid challenges it.
Yeah. So he thinks. And there's a Desert Spear.
And then there's a Desert Spear.
Oof.
But Dan, the history buff.
It's true. History buff doesn't get answered based off what he sees.
It does get answered based off what he sees.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Like, he attacks into the history buff as well. He has the Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Okay, well, that's something. It does get answered by the hero power, but it would force the 2 mana out from PNC this turn. Which would mean he might get to develop.
Right. So, if he chooses to use the Dwarven Sharpshooter hero power, I mean, he was probably planning originally to find a way to remove that card consistently, but now he's going up against this acidic swamp ooze. Let's see. So Leok, great. Huffer, not great. Misha, not great against True Silver Champion.
I wonder.
This is not a very convincing argument to play Animal Companion, but it does work out a decent amount of time if you're able to get Leok. Alright. And there's no True Silver Champion punish.
Yeah.
Also a Highlander deck, there's 1-ups. How reasonable is to play around some of these 1-ups?
Ooh, okay. Well, history buff plus beaming sidekick guarantees the buff onto the bone. But at the same time, like, that just gets answered so easily. Like, hero power plus the Misha trade, value trades over the history buff. And then is Bone Wraith really going to pull you out? But what's the alternative? Is just to play Bone Wraith by itself and hope that you can fight back after that? Stick something onto the board?
Yeah, it's not pretty, but I think Muzzy has to try and fight back with what he's got, and that Bone Wraith is it.
Okay, so Corrosive Breath, Hero Power, and then trade leaves him with a 4-1.
Maybe you don't have to Corrosive Breath here. Maybe you just Hero Power and develop with your Bone Chewer or Fairy Dragon. Fairy Dragon is a little bit weak to Consecration.
This way is better because it leaves him with a 4-2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he does know that Air Raid is card in hand.
Yeah.
Twin spell version of it. Oh. Consecration doesn't really need to play it right now. History buff and Air Raid. How does your opponent punish that? Leash to Hounds isn't really a full punish.
He's just not playing with much stuff, though. Like, this is, all things considered, like, pretty weak development for turn 5. Maybe not so much. It is awkward, that's for sure.
Passes the vanilla test.
This is that point where you just trade over one of these 1-1s and rip Rotnest Drake. It's a win-win, because if you hit the history buff, cool, you removed the history buff on the board. If you hit the 1-1, you have a 4-1 in play that history buff would have to trade into, unless Muzzy had some type of ping.
Right, or Burning Sidekick. Beaming Sidekick.
Yeah.
So, PNC, does he have a better line here?
I mean, he can go wider. He can play like Primordial Explorer, Bone Chewer Brawler.
Yeah, but then he loses the... He loses the Misha, like you were talking about.
Loses the Misha, and the history buff trades over the Bone Chewer Brawler pretty easily.
I think it is the Rotnest Drake. Oh. Wow, that is brutal. So, Libram of Justice here. Looks like the only removal option here for Muzzy, and he is not happy.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Especially considering he's got the combo. The Libram Justice Beaming Consecration combo.
Could he go for a Blessing of Kings here and trade over the Misha?
Ah, now we're talking.
Your opponent has already played Corrosive Breath and Dwarven Sharpshooter. He clearly did not have efficient ways to remove 1-1s because you introduced the same problem last turn. So 1-health minions seem to be a problem for this runner to clear right now. The way you can get punished severely is Swarm of Locusts.
Yeah.
And I think in Muzzy's mind, it could be something where he has to take that risk because how do you win? How do you win otherwise? I think you need to really force your opponent. Okay, all right. Chooses the Blessing of Kings afterwards.
This actually makes a lot of sense. Instead of having a 5-1 and a 1-1, he has a 5-5. Hey,
2 Primordial Explorers.
Let's keep going. Oof. These are not fantastic. I suppose the Spellkin, since he's ahead.
Yeah, this makes PNC feel like he has to trade to avoid getting punished by cards like Pharaoh's Blessing, but at the same time, there's 2 poisonous minions under the board.
And 6 damage is a lot.
A lot to miss, given that you also have like this insane curve next few turns here. Siamat, stuff, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. PNC is just like, whatever, I'm just gonna hit face. Like, there's not much Muzzy can do.
Yeah.
So he thinks.
Still just feels like such a weak turn.
Let me think.
You can value trade over the Rottnest Drake.
I got you, friend.
Reporting for duty.
And PNC with the Siamat. Looking good. Also has other options, though. Doesn't have to commit to Siamat. He can play Hogsteed and Cobalt Spellkin. Seize control of the board, get a couple of 1-cost spells. Cobalt Spellkin. Actually, one of my my favorite neutral cards, I think. It's a very interesting card to think in every class. And every time I see an opportunity to discover it and it's not like game losing and, you know, it feels like the right choice, it's actually been very fun to play. 2 trackings. Well, sure. Tracking is one of the best cards at Hunter at 1 cost. And this is not bad at all. So PNC can find the damage he needs. Sir Finley of the Sands.
Oh! Soul Tap.
Soul Tap is interesting. The Silver Hand is also particularly interesting to me.
Yeah.
Helps.
It's synergized with Libram.
Synergizes with Libram right now. He gets board presence immediately for the next turn, which incidentally lets him hold on to Consecration. Well, probably would use Consecration this turn. Yeah, Soul Tap for a free card seems very good as well. Let's see what the Angling Rod can generate. Murloc Raider.
Well, he can play it. It's a playable card. I'll take it at this point. Muzzy's still going to need a lot of help. I mean, he's at 18. PNC's got power plays lined up, and if PNC presents a threatening enough board here, and Muzzy has to pull the trigger on Libram of Justice on Consecration, it means that Dragon Queen Alexstrasza is just going to come down unchecked. Outside of like a Zephyr's draw. So...
Alright, well, Divine Shield Wind Fury, just pretty confident that even if Muzzy cleaned it up, like you said, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, still strong enough. That being said, Libram of Justice doesn't answer this.
Yeah, he would have to use Consecration as well.
Yeah, so I guess the way you would clear it would be to Librum of Justice, then Consecration. After attacking into the Divine Shield.
Yeah. Then he just doesn't beat Dragon Queen Alexstrasza unless he draws Zephyrus.
Right, and there's still plenty more where that came from, right? Hunter has other threatening cards like a Grand Slam.
Grand Slam or Bran in his deck.
Oh yeah, Dire Chamber Bran. He doesn't have the Grand Slam actually in his deck list right now.
Oh yeah, you're right. He doesn't.
That was a previous week. I think Muzzy is just thinking it over. Like, is there any way I can justify not playing this?
Well, I mean, he's just dead on board if he doesn't. Almost. He could like hit the underlying Angling Rod into something, but seems like the only viable play.
And PNC has layered all of his threats, and he's ready to go. Dragon Queen Alexstrasza hits the board.
Ooh, Skeletal Dragon.
Aeon Reaver is just also tempo, but I think it is perfectly fine to hold it. He doesn't want to play it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he would have to damage his one minion.
True that. Muzzy Siamat here isn't good enough. He's going to have to go ahead and tap. Finds nothing else.
Oh, he could go for Taunt Divine Shield, which I think technically leaves him alive. Actually, no, it doesn't.
What he knows.
Gavin Griffin, Aeon Reaver.
Yeah.
Plus anything.
Will do it. And PNC gonna win 3-1. Muzzy once again denied a top 4 opportunity. And PNC lives to fight on against Just Saying in our final match of the day.
Yeah, Saiyan has a chance to avenge Muzzy in that decider match, and PNC seems like he's following a similar path to what he had last week, where he just had a bunch of like close, back and forth series, and eventually made it to the top 4, where he fell short. But at this point, he's just trying to get any win he can to get as many points as he can to make it through into Division A, which would be a big deal. For him to try and avoid those automatic relegation spots, better chance to qualify for playoffs. PNC is a seasonal winner in Grandmasters already. Won Season 1, the inaugural season of Grandmasters. So probably wants to get back to that form, wants to get back to that point in his Grandmasters career to be able to win that championship and get a spot in the global finals.
Yeah, and I think that there's just a lot of people who have been, if I can just speak very candidly, DJ, people are flaming PNC. People are saying that he's just not playing up to the quality of other Grandmasters. People say he doesn't belong in the league. People are saying that he just looks worse than the other players. And I think that kind of feedback, when you have to read it like on Twitter when people are like adding you, is tough, as a player. But you have to be able to deal with criticism. I think that's one of the most important aspects as a player in these kinds of strategy games, especially games with variance, is be able to be open to criticism because that's part of the nature of the beast. And so PNC, he's been able to withstand a lot of that pressure, and today he's performing pretty well. There's nothing I really have major complaints about outside of a couple of small sequencing things. And I think that's set him up for a really nice series against Saiyan. The winner of this will go to the top 4. And that brings us to our final break of the day. So when we come back, we're ready for the concluding series of the second day of this week, with Just Saying versus PNC. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.